Kimberly is going to hand out votive candles and photos. Please hang on to both for later. Don't light the candle yet. We will do so later. TDOR stands for Transgender Day of Remembrance, an annual observance on November 20th that honors the lives of transgender people who have been murdered as a result of transphobic violence. Started in 1999, the day aims to raise public awareness of the violence, discrimination, and abuse transgender people continue to face, often due to their gender identity. The day is dedicated to remembering those who have been lost to anti-transgender violence and to raising awareness about it, ongoing hate crimes. It was started by transgender advocate Gwendolyn Ann Smith in 1999 as a vigil to honor Rita Hester, a transgender woman who was murdered in 1998. TDOR observances usually include reading victims' names. A major focus is on the disproportionately high rates of violence, particularly against Black and Latina transgender women. TDOR serves as a call to action to advocate for transgender rights and to fight against the discrimination and violence that transgender people experience. Nokie Rae is Executive Director of Metro Trans Umbrella Group, bringing 15 years of organizational development, teaching, and nonprofit leadership experience to serving Missouri's trans and gender expansive community. They work to create sustainable systems that ensure MTUG's services and community-led advocacy will be here for generations to come. Please welcome Nokie Rae.
Thank you for inviting me out this morning. I'm all the way up in St. Louis, but I was so excited to drive out here. Tim, thank you for having me today. So, yeah, TDOR. We, excuse me. We recently celebrated TDOR and observed TDOR on the 20th. It's something we do every year. And this year, about a week before, we found a threat in our memorial garden. And it wasn't a direct threat, but it was threatening language, and we had to make the decision. Do we do this thing still? Do we still show up and honor our dead? And the answer, of course, is yes. We, as the trans and gender expansive community, live every single day with the threat of violence, with the threat of death, with the threat of losing services. What's different about this moment? But we took precautions. We, over the past, let's see, MTUG is probably 13 years now, 13 years old. And over those years, we've built an incredible, expansive community around our organization. And so we had almost 40 clergy and allies and professional activists show up to protect our community. And because of that, we were able to celebrate. And they guarded our headquarters, and they guarded us as we walked a few blocks to our memorial garden. And they stood vigil, and they spread out in the blocks, and they watched the alleys, and they had their walkie-talkies and whistles ready to alert us to any danger, and luckily there was none. And we read the names, and we mourned, and they guided us back to our headquarters, and we celebrated. We mourned and we celebrated. We had food and we had conversation until pretty late. And I was standing outside of the memorial garden at the entrance, and it hit me how powerful the moment was. Yes, there was this threat, and yes, we were mourning our dead, but here we were with an overpouring of community, to be together, to have found each other. There were hundreds of trans and gender expansive folks in that garden. Hundreds. And not just that, but allies, in dozens of allies. To live in a time where we could find each other and we could come into this space in this moment. And it made me think about my own journey, but also made me think about the history of MTUG, what brought us to this moment, because it hasn't been easy. It was founded in in 2013, there was a group of trans men who were meeting, I think, at a cafe, something like that. It was a small thing. People who, you know, you have to imagine 13 years ago, like, it's not easy to just find one another. It wasn't as a visible topic. Like, how do you find one another? But they did. And a matriarch in the community passed, and the community didn't have the money to bury her in the way that she had wished. And a group of people, Sayer Johnson, Alex John Meyer, Ray Larson, among many others, realized that trans folks in St. Louis, in the metro area, in Missouri, had no power base. They had no institutional strength. They had no money and allies. So they founded MTUG. And MTUG started very much a grassroots organization, one group. And that became two. And then we had FemSpec, which is now our largest group. And that expanded to Expression Spectrum, which is for our non-binary folks like myself. My pronouns are they, them. And now we have 7 or 8 groups. Some are here. We have Margins here. We have guests over in Illinois. We have Gender Cloud, which is online, and my personal favorite group is Age Against the Machine, which I think is the best name for a support group, where we can become trans elders, which is a wild thing. Okay, I said I wouldn't cry, but it's a wild thing to experience, to get to grow old as a trans person publicly, to find each other, to grow old. It's beautiful to walk into that room and see everyone as we hit later in life. It's an incredible thing. And so the support groups grew, and we realized that there were other types of services that we needed beyond community. Community is amazing, but as trans folks, we need healthcare. And so our services grew. We have partners all over. They come into our house to provide safe and affordable healthcare to our community. We Vivint and Planned Parenthood, Novus, and Nexus, among many others. We realized that our community needed a place to find gender-affirming clothing. Right? It's one thing to just go over to Target and try to buy affirming clothes, but it can be scary, it can be overwhelming. To be able to go into our community center and shop for free clothes that are gender affirming, it's an incredible thing to see. And from there it's expanded. We realized that our community has a higher than average incidence of neurodivergence and of disability and of chronic pain, chronic illness. And so it can be difficult, not just that, but it can be difficult because there is, it can be difficult for us to find jobs. And so we realized that our community needed fed. Like, who's gonna feed us? Well, it's us. I think all of our services, you can see this heart of like, for us, by us. No one else is there for us. And so we must build these foundations. And so we have a food delivery service that typically serves about 30 households a month. We deliver straight to the door. People can come in any time and get food on our open hours, but we deliver out. And then people lost SNAP benefits. And we realized our community is going to be hit pretty hard by this, so we started ramping up. And this month, we served almost 120 households. These households are from 1 to 6 people. They're children in these households, and we were able to serve every single last one of them. We expect that to grow in December, so we're already starting to do our food drives and do our fundraising to figure out how to do this. But we have an incredible volunteer engine. We have over 700, probably almost 800 people in our volunteer platform that we can reach out to, and people were like, hey, you need to deliver more food, you need to do it over multiple days, you need to go do 4 giant runs to Sam's Club, we're there for you, right? So it's an incredible thing. But how did we get here? Like, we started with that seed of one support group because someone saw a need and said, I'm going to do something about it. That grew. In 2015, people in the same kind of group decided, we need a trans memorial garden. And so the Trans Memorial Garden was founded, and we have had our Trans Day of Remembrance ceremonies there every year. That has moved closer to our headquarters now. It's just down the block, and so we can walk there and we can spend time in the garden and sit in the garden with friends, which is lovely. In 2018, a family who had a transgender daughter donated our current headquarters, which is wild. At the time, it was worth double what our operating budget was. There's no way we could have gotten that ourselves. There's no way. And so all of a sudden we had a home. We had a place where our support groups could meet instead of cafes and basements and people's houses. They could meet in this space. We had a place to store all this food that gets sent out. We had a place for our Alex's Closet, right? We had a place for healthcare providers to come in and provide healthcare to our community, a safe place, a place where we could feel at home, a place where we could feel community and love. That's 2018, and then 2019, 2020, and the world was hit with COVID. And that was tricky for us. I mean, it was tricky for everybody, right? Like it was a hard time for everyone. But for us, we had just found this community. A lot of people had just found this community, and all of a sudden we couldn't be together. We couldn't go to groups and then go out afterwards and speak and be in community and love on each other, be in the community center. But that didn't stop us. Our support groups went online, which is not as good, but it's something. And the entire house was turned into a giant food pantry, and we were doing deliveries every single day. And when we finally could come back together, a shift happened. Johnson Sayer held this org together for like 8 years, and then Sayer needed to leave. Sayer stepped down, and Michaela stepped in, and Michaela brought more voices in, more diverse voices, more diverse programming. And then we hit a financial roadblock. It almost destroyed our org, but the community rallied, and June and Micah stepped in. June, who had been the executive director for almost, I'm looking at you, Beth, like 2 or 3 years, saved the org, almost ran herself into the ground, right? Got us solid funding, got us, increased our support groups and the services that we provide, did an incredible thing. But I think June's lasting legacy was to realize that we were isolated in St. Louis. And so June spent her years building partnerships and coalitions across the state with Glow Center, with the Center Project, with Rolla, with other orgs, with many healthcare providers, so that we could build strength in coalition, build strength in community and connection, and so that we could understand the needs of orgs like ours that were just taking seed, that were in rural areas, right? We're in St. Louis, we're in the metro area, and a lot of our issues as trans people are universal, but some are not. And so there's a difference there. And it's a lasting legacy. I joined the board about a year ago, and I've helped strengthen and mature our organization. And you probably have seen the executive orders and the memorandums and the attack at the federal level that have come through. And I think my legacy to start has been to figure out how we can weather those, right? We have digital platforms. I mean, it's a digital age, right? We have email, and we have documents, and we have communication platforms, and how do we keep those safe? And so we've been moving all of our digital platforms from these big tech giants who will comply with 80% of subpoenas to platforms that are end-to-end secured, that do not comply with subpoenas. A place where we can safeguard the information of our community. Beyond that, of course, we're expanding our food pantry, and we're in the spring we're planning to knock down our dilapidated garage in the backyard and build a true Alex's Closet that's not in our basement, that's accessible, that is bright and fun. It's like a boutique shop that people can have dignity and walk in and find their clothing. And that will also give us more room for food in the basement to store and to deliver to our community. And I'd say the last thing is, as we look to the future, is We love our headquarters. We love HQ. Our community center is a home for us. We've outgrown it. We've done too good a job. We have so many people in our community. Some of our groups have grown so big that we just can't fit inside our living room anymore, and they meet at neighboring organizations. And so we look to expand. We look to there's a lot next door that's just waiting to be developed. And so I'm looking into buying that and developing that and expanding our community center next door. Because we can find each other now, and we have found each other. And we've made it a safe place. We've made it a place where you can come out, and you can grow, and you get the services you need, you can transition, you get the health care you need, you get the food that you need. And we need more space, and we need more help. So that's MTUG. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a joy, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Nokie, thank you so much. I learned a lot from your speech today. Thank you for joining us for our TDOR observance. I have a poem that I wasn't sure I was going to have time for, but I wrote an original poem that I hope shares. I can't. You know what? I can't find the words right now, so I'll let this poem speak for itself. The poem is titled "Afraid Anymore." Why should we, as transgender people and their allies, be afraid for our lives anymore, when it does nothing but stress us all out to the core? For much of the LGBTQIA+ community, simply going out without worrying about their surroundings or safety, being misgendered publicly, being or having trouble renewing their driver's license with a new name, only to be told an inadequately updated birth certificate is to blame. Using gendered restrooms in peace and quiet and not being accused of starting a riot. These are just some of the frightening situations that transgender people have to worry about, all because they wanted to live free as themselves and not stay inside a closet. I just wanted to let those we never get to know loud and clear that you are loved and wanted here. And to the ones who've gone on before, who faced bigger bullies and more, with words or guns or stones and sticks by bad people often employed, trying to extinguish, terrorize, take away, and destroy. Their go yet unfinished, because we remember we are still here to honor them, not only in November, but January through December. Say their names genuinely loudly, because they live their lives very proudly. Our brethren, sisters, and non-binary friends, their mere names mentioned evokes thoughts of an ongoing cancerous trend, because today's issues reflect the truth of what's going on. Masses of transgender people are targeted, their very existence attempted to be buried and done. So why should we, transgender and their allies, be afraid anymore? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words eternally roar. The threats don't end with one person, whomever that shall be. Hate doesn't stop with one culture's designation, but it does stop with assembly. Here we are, people gathered who can fight off the hate that so many people feel pressured under, unsure of their fate. We have that power to be vigilant and align ourselves with the right side of history. Knowing we have the power to spread love is no mystery. That not one more breath under an uncompassionate regime is taken, and their lives completely erased remain forsaken. That's what these transgender lives were trying to implore. They may be gone, but they are not afraid anymore. Okay, now I'm going to read through this year's list of murder victims. This list is not exhaustive. It only includes those murdered in the US since 2024's Transgender Day of Remembrance. Many more took place in the other countries or went unreported. And this list does not include many deaths by suicide in the past year, though it does include suspected suicides. As I read the name of the person in your picture, please light your candle and bring both the picture of the person you are being asked to honor today and your lit candle to the front of the room and place them on the front table. We'll start with Amiri Dior, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Artie Cassidy Beowulf Gibson, Portland, Oregon. Aubrey Dameron, Ottawa County, Oklahoma. Aurora Pellegrina, Lawnside, New Jersey. Blair Sawyer, Louisville, Kentucky. Cam Thompson, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Charlotte Fosgate, Portland, Oregon. Christina Hayes, Detroit, Michigan. Coco Chantel, Greensboro, North Carolina. Dream Johnson, Washington, D.C. Eliza Ray Shoup, Washington, D.C. Emma Slayback, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Irviana Johnson, Tabor City, North Carolina. Gabrielle Nguyen, El Paso County, Colorado. Honey Walker, Rochester, New York. Hope Leica Youngblood, Los Angeles, California. James Spencer, St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Jax Grattan, Lakewood, Colorado. Jay Flores, Stockton, California. J.J. Godby, Canton, Ohio.
Yeah. Thank you.
Jonathan Joss, San Antonio, Texas. Johnny Edemo, Seattle, Washington. Jordan J.J. May, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Katoria Banks, Otaugaville, Alabama. Kamora Woods, Indianapolis, Indiana. Carmen Wells, Detroit, Michigan. Cassie Rhea Holmes, Lynchburg, Virginia. Caitlin Renetta Benoit, Rochester, New York. Kelsey Ellum, St. Louis, Missouri. Kyla Walker, Austin, Texas. Laura Schuler, Cincinnati, Ohio. Lily Dawn Harkins, El Paso County, Colorado. Linda Becerra Moran, Los Angeles, California. Mika Shabazz, Columbus, Ohio. Onyx Korish, Caldwell, Idaho. Parker Severis, Setauket, New York. Relasia Wright, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Rick Newman, Bozeman, Montana. Rosa Machuca, Austin, Texas. Roy Mora, Fort Bragg, California. Sam Nordquist, Canandaigua, New York. San Coleman, Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, one of those.
Shaparius Dupree, Memphis, Tennessee. Tahiri Broom, Southfield, Michigan. And Tierra Jackson, Charlotte, North Carolina. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember the senseless deaths that have taken place in the last 365 days. Okay. Thank you for joining us today to honor all those lives who have been violently cut short simply for living authentically. See if we have any connections for today. Oh, good. Okay. Anyone interested in planning our Human Light Winter Solstice platform on December 21st, please see Lee. Next week's platform is Thinking Outside the Box. Laura Flanders asks, what if these aren't the worst of times? Registration is required for this AEU All Society platform. The link can be found in this week's email and on your website. Thank you for coming to our Transgender Day of Remembrance and have a wonderful week.
Very nice.